There's never been anybody like him. I'll tell you an incident that is funny and weird and strange. Because I grew up in a black neighborhood, Sammy knew that. Sammy used to talk to me when we were alone, like I was another brother. Listen, I'm going to talk to you now, man. No, we're going to go to dinner tonight. You know, he'd do that kind of stuff, you know. But he calls me. I was on the road with for a couple of years. And him and Frank Sinatra weren't talking. Frank was mad at Sammy because Sammy was doing some blow, doing some cocaine, and Frank was upset by that. And so they had like a difference. But Sammy calls me one night at my home. We were going into Las Vegas, following Frank Sinatra into Las Vegas. So we usually go on opening day, have rehearsal, and we open that night. Sammy said, hey, babe, he said, I want you to come in the night before. Barbara Sinatra and Alta V's, my wife, got Frank and I to go to dinner together after Frank's first show tomorrow, next night. He said, what I want to do is have all my peeps there, you know, his entourage, and I'd like you there. I said, yeah, sure. I didn't know Frank Sinatra in those days. I'm going to see Frank Sinatra's show. He said, we're going to go and, you know, watch. I'm going to go to dinner with Frank after his first show, and then we're going to come back and sit for his second show. So I go there, and I go down the showroom, and there's Shirley Rhodes and his manager, and also George Rhodes, his conductor, and Dino and Meminger and Jolly, all the people on Sammy's staff, and Murphy Bennett. You know, we're all sitting there, and here comes Sammy, and he's had a lot to drink. He said, dinner's over. He said, we're talking again, babe. Frank and I are talking again. He loved Frank Sinatra. He loved Frank Sinatra for a lot of good reasons, you know, and Frank loved him for a lot of good reasons. But he said, we're back, we're talking again, babe. He was so excited. He just pounding drinks down. He said, I'm going to jump up on the stage when he does The Lady is a Tramp. I'm going to jump up and sing it with him. And he's all excited, but he's drinking quite a bit. You know, now Frank goes through the whole song, and all of a sudden Frank's toward the end, he goes, she gets too hungry for dinner at 8. And Sammy jumps up on the table, jumps up on the stage, and the audience goes wild. Sammy Davis and Frank are back together and bound, and Sammy grabs the microphone and he starts singing The Lady is a Tramp with Frank, and the audience just can't get enough of it. Just cheers and cheers and cheers. Frank does his closing number, he bolts out the back door, and now it's time for us to go. And Sammy's bodyguard said, Sammy, we better not go out the front. They know you're here now, you'll just get mobbed. Let's go through the kitchen. At Caesar's in those days, to the right was a kitchen. So, you know, right off a stage left with the kitchen. So we go through the kitchen. I'm not drinking. I'm stone sober. And Sammy's entourage, as we're going through the kitchen, I'm out in front. There's a black guy with a waiter's uniform on, and he's yelling to a white guy. Like I say, they serve food there. So the white guy's got all these racks of steaks. And Sammy hollers out. He said, not Sammy, the waiter hollers out to the white guy. The black guy hollers out to the white guy, Al! And he doesn't know what's behind. Al, bring up them steaks. Bring them steaks up. And Sammy jumped up and he said, who the fuck you calling Buckwheat? The guy said, what? He said, who the fuck you calling Buckwheat? And the waiter said, I didn't call you no Buckwheat. That's what he said, I didn't call you no fuck. Then, now, meanwhile, I heard what he said. Now the entourage come around, and they all got guns, you know. What did he say? He called Sammy Buckwheat. He called Sammy. I said, no, ho. He did not say that. Sammy, he didn't say, Sammy's drunk. I said, Sammy, he didn't say that. Sammy looks at me, had that hat on with that one eye, he looked at me. And he walked away, and I said, whoa, shoot. I go back to my room. Shirley Rhodes calls me and said, Sammy wants you to come down to the suite. They have a party. I said, I don't think tonight's a good night. I don't think I should go. He said, no, he said, everything's cool, Tommy. So I go down to the suite, and Murphy Bennett's at the bar. That was Sammy's old road manager for years. And I'm talking to Murphy, and Sammy's working the room. But finally he comes over to me. Now, he's talking to me like I'm another brother. You know? Now, let me see if I get this straight, you know. The brother in the kitchen don't pay you, but I pays you. And you stick up for the brother in the kitchen. You got to explain that to me. Now, that's what he's doing to me. Now, I'm so nervous, because you know, with Sammy, but I'm nervous now. I'm in a situation. And I said, Sammy. And I couldn't say the word buckwheat. I said, Sammy, the guy. I said, Sammy, wait. Sammy, the guy. She said, I said, Sammy, the guy. The guy didn't go. I couldn't say buckwheat. I'm looking at Sammy this close. I said, the guy didn't go. This is so stupid. You know, I said, Sammy, the guy, and I could not. Now he's not. Doesn't think that's funny. I'm going, hold on. The guy didn't call you, and I break him laughing again. I guess from nerves. And finally, I said, he didn't call you buckwheat. You know. Now, Sammy didn't say anything. The next day, in my dressing room, Sammy comes in. He's sober now. He said, okay, babe, run it down. What happened? I said, Sammy, the guy was yelling at the other waiter, bring up the meat. Bring up the meat. You thought he said buckwheat. I said, he was yelling, bring up the meat. You know, and Sammy said, oh. He said, I owe him an apology, huh? I said, he didn't say that. He said, could you point the guy out if we go in the kitchen? We went off stage into the kitchen, and I found the guy. I said, Mr. Davis wants to talk to you. And he said to me, he said, Mr. Davis, I am. So he said, Tommy says I owe you an apology. He said, Mr. Davis, I couldn't sleep all last night. He said, my mother, when I told her you were coming here, she lives in Cleveland, she said that you've got to watch him. He's the greatest entertainer of all time. He said, and for you to think that I would call you that or any brother that. He said, and Sammy said, I'm sorry. He said, I apologize. I had too much to drink last night. And they shook hands. Now, next night, Sammy's secretary brings me a box like this with a ribbon on. Sammy wants you to give this to the waiter. I went in there and I found the waiter. I said, Mr. Davis wants you to give it. He opens up, it's a Rolex watch. A Rolex watch. I said, whoa, wow, whoa. That's what Sammy would do, and he was that kind of guy. I go back to the dressing room, Sammy's out alone, and I said, now let me see if I get this straight. If I calls you Buckwheat, I gets me one of them watches? He said, yeah, because you're going to have to find out what time the next bus leaves the Harvey, because your ass is out of here.
That's beautiful.